Let me get into my responsibilities straight away. My first speaker, none other than Ankit Morakia. You all know Ankit, passionate reader, social worker, public speaker, banker, intellectual, unique human being, and true to himself with sense of self-worth. Ankit has agreed to review the book, The Scam. The book falls into the category of non-fiction business book written on Indian stock markets. A very colorful narrative, I would say, knitting together the life and times of all stock market players involved in two of India's biggest stock market scams. I don't know how many of you remember it, but I do remember it very well. The scam a diary of two of the most famous scams in the Indian stock markets. The story told by Sucheta Dalal and Debashish Basu. Can't get a more reliable and informed couple of storytellers for these events. Friends, help me in welcoming dear friend Ankit onto the Bookery platform. Ankit, welcome.
Thank you, Anil, for the kind words and warm introduction. Welcome everyone to this show, and I'll try to do justice to this book Scam. I'll straight away jump to it. So, as Anil already mentioned, the premise is basically on the stock market scam, but it does not say stock market on the cover page of it. The premise actually relies around how money is made and how money is destroyed probably in a very short span of time. 28 years as we speak today have been passed. Still, people are searching. Where did the money go? Who were behind the actual scamsters? Was there really a scam? Was there somebody who was not named and behind? Was Harshad just the face and somebody else behind him? Many unanswered questions. But I'll try to give you a perspective around the book. The book is a non-fiction book. It's based on evidence which Suchita and Debashish collected, and they put it in this book. It has a lot of financial jargons, so somebody who picks up the book for the first time may find it difficult to comprehend what's going on. And there are a couple of reprints that have happened, and where she has tried to cover after Harshad Mehta, which was in 92. She's tried to cover Ketan Parekh also, which was a 2001 scam. So two events in Indian stock market which were publicly debated, who were fantasized, who were I would say it was a press trial that took place. Every day in the newspaper, you would have something of Harshad. So before the scam, it was Harshad. After the scam, it was Harshad. Harshad was a poster boy. So I'll give you some glimpse about what Harshad was trying to do and what happened around that time. It was about a guy who left his home from UP and came to Bombay to study, who had big ambitions, who tried his hands at probably 10 different businesses. And at the age of 37, exactly, at the age of 37 is where this guy started to let's try my hands on stock market. He joined a stockbroking firm. He understood the nitty-gritties, and then he jumped into the ring. If you Google up on what the ring is, it's basically like a vegetable market where you have people selling vegetables. Here you had people selling stocks. Just imagine, this is how India was back then, when we had real people, a real ring, and computers probably sitting in the broker's office only. And you had trading which happened, this, this, this. All these are symbols. These are symbols which are used to actually denote a trade and actually at which price the share would trade. So these symbols and people, that was what the ring was made up of. People who, like you and me, who wanted to invest, had to probably finally go to a broker who would go through the ring and get the stocks sold. That's how crude the methodology was. In comes Harshad. Harshad comes in with this creative mind and his zeal and ambition to grow and grow more. So Grow More was the name of his firm. That's what he promised to everyone he met. From being a broker in the ring, being a jobber, to a broker, to a BSc license owner, then to starting his own firm. Harshad, in a very short span of time. So it's a story of 10 years after which Harshad entered the stock market. And then within the next 10 years, Harshad was finished. This book revolves around how he did what he did. It also gives you a flavor of not just the stock market, but also the money market. The stock market, even as on date as we speak, there are two stock exchanges primarily in India: the Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange. The BSE clocks in an average daily volume of 5,000 crores. NSE clocks in an average volume of 50,000 crores. Harshad, at that point in time, back in 1992, 28 years earlier from today, was clocking an annual trading volume of 60,000 crores. Imagine one person who actually lived on to become the creator, the maker, the driver, the frenzy of Indian stock market. Money markets in India are very opaque, are very shallow. They are still, as on date, since I'm a banker, I can tell you that the money markets are still an open door thing. It's not open to you and me. It's something that happens over the counter. The markets are very robust in terms of the volume. It's a 2 lakh crore market trading volume on a daily basis. 2 lakh crores. That's the kind of value of trade that happens on a daily basis in the bond markets. The outstanding bond market, roughly as we speak, is around, if I have the correct number with me, 32 trillion rupees. So these are the kind of numbers that you will find in the book. You may actually be dizzied about the volumes that Suchita and Debashis have put across, the numbers that they have thrown in the book, and you may feel that it's hard to comprehend. But my request to you is, if you have any affinity with the stock market, any affinity with the bond market, sit down, take up this book, read it once. You will actually find some interesting snippets of how the markets function. There is to give you a crude analogy, what happens to the value of, let's say, gold? Every year you invest in gold and the price rises, but the price would rise by the cost of inflation, or it would actually rise by more of demand. So if gold was trading, let's say, at $1,800 an ounce, probably 6 months back, today it's trading at $2,000 an ounce. So $200 of increase is still palatable. On a percentage basis, it seems high, but still palatable. What if I tell you that I can tell you to buy a stock which is worth 40 rupees today, and after a month, I will buy that stock back at 2,500 rupees? Imagine 40 rupees to 2,500 rupees. So I'll give you another example. The stock that I was talking about, 40 rupees stock, was basically it was Z Telefilms, Ketan Parekh, the next in line after Harshad. I'll take you to one of Harshad's favorite stock, ACC. ACC is still a respectable and listed entity in India, among the top 5 suppliers of cement in the country. Harshad could drive up the price of ACC from 200 rupees to 10,000 rupees. 200 to 10,000. Imagine if you had invested 1,000 rupees in that, you had so 200 rupees, 1,000 rupees worth of investment, 5 shares. 5 shares will now worth how much? 50,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees converted to 50,000 rupees. That was the kind of frenzy that Harshad drove in the market. But behind this public frenzy, which was open to you and me, where we could read, pick up the newspaper and see these prices going up, spiraling every day, the book tells you the story of how the money came from, where the money came from. If you have to drive anything up just one way, that is skywards, the only thing that you have to do is you have to create infinite demand for it. And Harshad was able to do it with his infinite capital backing him. And this capital again came from the money market. So that is how the story narrates and relates from stock market to money market. Money market was where the tap was open for him, and how he could misuse, misled, uh, probably tweak some rules here and there. He was not a registered broker with the RBI, but he was the broker broking for State Bank of India, the largest bank in the country even today. So even an unregistered guy was broking with SBI, and anybody who was a broker with SBI could actually do broking with everyone. So here it was, one guy, one dream, and ambition to probably reach somewhere where nobody was. There is a series going on live on Sony Live about the same Harshad Mehta story. Again, it's a very glimpse, or I would say a 40,000 square feet view of what the Harshad story is about. I would request, pick up the book, read it, understand it probably in bits and parts. If you have some queries, Google up and refresh your knowledge and update yourself on how the bond market function. This is something which will throw upon a lot of information, a lot of numbers, a lot of syndicate. I'll give you a different perspective to the book. So obviously the book revolves around just the story of Harshad Mehta. Then it goes into the second half where it speaks briefly about Ketan Parekh and what he did. So these two were 10 years apart, exactly a decade apart between these two. Modus operandi, almost similar. Reason to do it, just driving up prices, collusion with promoters. You have all the shares of a company cornered and you have artificial demand created, prices go rocket, you sell them at the high prices, people who are holding those shares then make a loss. And that trend in Harshad Mehta, everybody wanted to have a share, from a roadside panwala to somebody who was driving a Benz probably in the country. Everybody was wanted the shares which were recommended by Harshad. He could drive the market probably 2,000 points after Diwali in 91. And that's the kind of impetus it had on the Indian economy. And then doomsday struck. Suchita was probably searching and trying to find out. Along with Suchita, there were many others who were trying to find out where this money was coming from. Suchita then had somebody, some insider who could help her with details, who could help her understand how the markets function. And that is exactly where there was a one-page article in Times of India that Harshad would, SBI has called up the big bull, what he was called, to pay a 500 crores rupees and square off the position. That was the first article printed against Harshad Mehta, which then in a series of events was complete destruction. The guy in India who could afford a Lexus at that point in time, which was an imported car, not many in the country, probably 7 or 10 in the country had the kind of luxury. The guy who could have a 15,000 square feet home at Worli, Maduli, which is still here. This book is completely a story about him. I'm not going into the financial details of it. It becomes a bit too boring, and there are too many numbers and too many people who are named in the book. So there are a lot many plots which are there. Interestingly, you can take one chapter at a time. It speaks about Harshad. It speaks about Ketan Parekh. It speaks about how CBI managed the case. It speaks about how the enforcement directorate got in. I guess somebody is unmuted. So this basically is a plot on how a scam was conspired and how it was handled and why it should be read. The perspective to this is, don't let greed take over the best of you. Yes, financial markets are important. They need to be understood. Your investments need to be made and they give good returns. But then if there somebody is promising you crazy returns, somebody is giving you 40% a year, somebody like a Ketan Parekh who is giving you 10 times in a year, then you need to be really go to the back of it, do your maths and see whether these kind of returns are physically possible. The underlying company, the underlying manufacturing company, or the underlying bonds of the government PSUs, which are being traded at crazy prices, if those companies are not making that kind of profits, how can something which is deriving value from that underlying be traded at 10 times this price in probably 1 year's time? It's not possible. But when greed takes the better of you, you probably don't look at this logically, and that's where the downfall happens. So this is the perspective to the book. So you need to keep abreast of these things. So I would that's why again I went through this books. It's a 308-page book. The word scam, Suchita probably wanted to get that word in our minds, so she has used it 360 times in the book, to be precise. So in a 308-page book, 360 times the word scam was used. Scam was a word unheard of in India. And she introduced this word probably. So this was there in the dictionary, but it was never used as a scam for a financial industry. People fail to understand how a scam happens in industry because it is not give and take. It is not very easy. Rig prices, change of shares, again rig prices, change of share holding, various multiple companies, multiple layers. If you want to understand something about how the financial markets work, this is the book for you. It will not be a read at the one go. It will take some time to, if you're not from a financial background, you will take some time to understand the book. But it's worth a read to understand both. So with that, I would like to conclude my review. I'm open to questions from viewers, which I can specifically answer, because I can go on and on about the scam, because people who are there, who are there in the market, I'm sure they had their own happy and bitter memories. For example, somebody who could exit the market made handsome money. Somebody who could not, probably sitting on just piece of paper. So that's how bad it is. Something which was worth 50,000 or 10,000, 11,000 of ACC, then ACC could never see those kind of prices after in the past 28 years now. So that's the kind of debacle that happens, and you are sitting with paper. So probably if you entered at 10,000, you're sitting on losses which will never come back. So happy and sad memories both are there. A lot of people, my parents and my entire generation who was there ahead of me has seen Harshad's rise and fall. They have seen Ketan Parekh's rise and fall. So they are well aware with the stock market. It's a never-ending discussion. So I'll not go into that. I'll probably open the floor to questions.
Thank you so much, Ankit, for the wonderful, the sneak peek that you have seen to the Indian money market. Yes, Scam 1992, the biggest financial scam India has ever seen, from a gentleman called Harshad Shantilal Mehta, a BCom degree holder. In fact, what he did is like, he just manipulated the loopholes Indian money market had, and he made the use of it. The world calls it as a scam. I don't know whether we can call it as a scam or not. To comment on it, I would like to welcome, one second, I would like to welcome Atresh Kumar if he is in. Hi, Atresh. Seems like you are interested in a money market or a stock exchange. Atresh, are you there? Or else Vida Katpitia, if I got your name correct. Can we have anyone of you here
Shall I
on
speak?
mic? Yes, Sanesh, please.
Yeah, it's always a privilege to hear Ankit speak, be it reviewing or insight. And reviewing Ankit's review, it is going to be really tough because he has given all the precise information with the numbers, with the scam, how things went up and how things fell. Though he did not give a lot of detail about the book, he has given a lot of information fair enough to for people to understand how interesting read this would be. And again, amazing review, Ankit. It's always a pleasure to hear you.
Thank you for the
Yes,
kind words.
Ankit
Thank
is
you.
the one. I mean, whoever presented their books, whenever Ankit was called for inside sharing, Ankit always had his own flavor to add into it. So today, his the turn came. So today he is doing the presentation. Do we have any other question over here, or do we need to hold your thoughts for a while for Vanida to come in? What do you say? I can give one more person to ask a question or to add anything into what Ankit already shared over here. Do we have anything, or else we shall move on to Vanitha's presentation, and after that we shall come back to a discussion wherein we will discuss both Ankit's book and Vanitha's book. I'll remove Ankit from the spotlight. Yes,
I guess
it's a time
Veera
for.
wanted to say something. He can't
Oh, she
unmute
cannot
him.
unmute herself. I'm sending a prompt to Veera. Veera, I'm sending a prompt now. Yes.
Yes, good evening, Veera here. Just a quick question. Is the book a very technical sort of a book, or would it be an sort of an easy read?
It's the English is pretty easy. It's a free flowing English, but as I told you, it has a lot of numbers and a lot of plots in the book. So at the first read, you might find it that there are too many things happening at the same time. So she actually gives you all the plots at the same time, and you need to then start connecting it. So if you read it in parts and probably at peace, you'll go through it. I mean, it's not that technical, but yeah, it's not a one-time read. I mean, you sit at one go and read for 300 pages, probably you will not register, and you will not probably appreciate the message that she's going to put across.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ankit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Virada. Thank you so much for that question. Yes, now it's a time for us to move on to the second speaker. Before I call upon Anil Thomas, yes, this book is all about you need start with a why. People that don't buy because what you do, or people why because why you do it, and what separates a leader from a follower, and how the leader gets the action done from the follower. Yes, we are all ears to listen to this. I would like to welcome Anil Thomas to introduce our second speaker of the day.
Thank you, Nia. So thank you, Ankit, for introducing such a wonderful book. And definitely, this is not a book that can read at one go. And this is not a tough book, but then it's a lot of numbers. And as he has suggested, it's a lot of about the stock market and its all technical stuff around. So it's a great book. Thank you for introducing it. Now, speaker two is Vanitha Rangarajan, is from Bangalore, originally from Chennai. She works at Oracle as a principal engineer, program quality director at Toastmasters International. Socially very active. Um, she attends a lot of Zoom sessions all around the world. I can see her and following her, and she's an amazing speaker. Start with Why is an interesting read. The book talks about two different approaches to influence human behavior, manipulation, and inspiration. Vanitha is intelligent enough to illuminate us on this beautiful work. Welcome, Vanitha, onto eBookery.
Thank you so much, Anil, for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. This is the time of the session where I request all of you to come on video, if you can. I will not judge you by the clothes that you're wearing or how you look, or even if you're not looking at the screen, but you've just had your videos on, so I can actually see people that I'm talking to. So thank you to everyone who's trying to come on video right now. Before I get into my book review, now I wanted to ask a couple of questions, and I'd like the audience to be responsive either on chat or unmute and just talk if it's easy to manage that. If I were to ask you to buy a computer, could you give me an example of what brand of a computer would you buy? Could I have anyone answer that? Okay, HP, someone says on the chat. I'm following the chat, so go ahead and tell me. If I were to ask you to buy a computer, what is the brand of computer that you would buy? Quickly. All right. Okay. Interesting. A lot of HPs, a little more of MacBook again, Apple, HP, Toshiba. All right, Dell keeps coming up every now and then. Apple, someone says. All right, get the hint. Now, if I were to ask you, thank you for your suggestions. I am not buying a computer, but if I were to buy a smartphone and money was not the issue, all right, what is a smartphone that you would buy? Give me examples of smartphones that you would buy. iPhone, Samsung. Okay, yes, obviously the highest version of the iPhone, because I told you don't have to sell your kidney to buy the iPhone. You have the money in hand. So yes, iPhone, everyone. Samsung Note 20, all right. Okay, Apple again. Now, there is a certain way in which we as customers, and everybody, every single person in the Zoom room is a customer some place or the other, correct? We buy things or we buy services. We believe in products and we believe in people. Why do we buy the things that we buy? Do we buy it because of how the product is, or do we buy because of the brand that the product is representing? Is something that got me thinking when I started reading Start with a Why. Now, in Toastmasters International, every time that I had to come up with an initiative for the members, and in Toastmasters International, what I typically do is to take care of 150 clubs, similar to our book club here, and we take care of communication and leadership development for members worldwide. in particular members of 2 states in Karnataka, in India, called Karnataka and Kerala. Okay, so this is the relevance of how this got here. Now, every time I wanted to do an initiative, there was this one mentor of mine who kept asking me, so why do you want to do this initiative? Okay, there would never be, now I'm going to them for suggestions, I'm going to them for help. And in turn, what I would be asked in a typical coaching style is, why do you want to do this? Why do you think this will benefit the member? Why do you think this will happen? And why and why and why? Every time that I had to answer the why, I knew the answers to what exactly I needed to do. Every time that I answered the why about an initiative that I had in my head, I knew how I could get it executed, simply because I had the why so clearly. Now, talking about Simon Sinek's book, and that's the reason why this book is currently very popular in my bedside table, because I started asking why. Now, the book is very old, okay? It's not a recently published book. It's one of his 5 books. Simon Sinek, for the uninitiated, he's a thought leader. He's one of the most optimistic people that I've seen, and he pretty much helps companies sell their products, okay? That is what Simon Sinek is, and he's a motivational speaker. He's an author. Now, this TEDx talk of his in 2009, so we're talking 11 years later after his TEDx, and the first book that he published, one of the 5 books that he published, is Start with the Why. Now, why is this book so relevant even today? We will find out now. Now, there were many chapters that the book strolled upon, and most of them is about leadership. A lot of them is about management, and a lot more about marketing, and especially products related. Okay, so this, I hope that the book review will be a bit of something for everyone, because no matter who you are selling something to someone at some point. So keeping that in mind, we'll see how relevant this entire book review will come to you. Now, the first thing that I noticed when I read the book was the basic human behavior and how we as individuals influence human behavior. So he talks about, in his first chapter itself, he talks about how we as human beings, we have instincts to drive long-term results, right? We as manufacturers, or we as product, somebody who produces products, have long-term results in mind. Now, there was a classic example in which he had mentioned, before which I want to talk to you about 2 types of leaders. Now, there are 2 leaders who manipulate people to get to the end result. We all want results. Let me make that very clear. As leaders, everybody wants a certain result. How we get to the result is what is very crucial in understanding the human behavior. So Simon Sinek talks about how manipulation is one way to get to your result. Now, when I say manipulation, I'm not talking about it in a negative connotation alone. I'm talking about, promotions, peer pressure, discounts that we give, anything that you can manipulate the market and sell your product. So it could be a very positive thing. So that's one thing. The second type of making people do things is by inspiring people. Now, that's the leadership that Simon Sinek believes in the book. I'm just so sorry, 1 minute. I apologize for that. I've had a long day of speaking. This is one of the other speaking engagements. So in this book, he talks about how the second type of people, where they literally they inspire people to achieve that result. So we're talking about manipulation and inspiring people, the 2 types of leaders, and the 2 types of leaders who bring in manipulation in everything that they do, and they bring in inspiration in everything that they do. So that's the basic understanding of how leadership works on a broad outset. The second thing that he talks about is about how we attract our customers. Now, we either give the carrots, which is all the bonuses, the promotions, and all the fancy things that goes with, the freebies that we get, anything that we get extra, which is a feel-good factor. When you get the carrot, you feel good. When you buy an iPhone, you know you have arrived, because in that room, not too many people have the iPhone. The other thing, the other type is the stick. The stick is the fear oh my God, if I don't have the iPhone, I don't feel the fear of missing out. I don't feel like I belong in that section of people, right? So the fear, playing with the feelings where you can just peer pressure or just fear. So these are the two things of which you can manipulate and get your products sold to customers. Now, one of the most interesting concepts that I found in the book, and that is something very applicable to everywhere else that I've read, was the golden circle. Now, a little about, before I start the golden circle, let me just explain to you what is the golden circle in a single picture here. Now you can see on the outside of the golden circle, there is a what. While we go interior, while we go inside the golden circle, there is a how. And then at the core of the golden circle, there is a why. I'm going to say that again. On the very, very outside, there is a what, then there is a how, and then there is a why. Now this is the golden circle concept is something that we have from nature itself. So there is a mathematical relationship which has fascinated all of these biologists and musicians and naturalists right from the beginning of history. Now that was called the golden ratio. Now in the golden ratio, we're talking about how everything in nature, there is actually a lot more order in nature than we think. Let's talk about symmetry of your leaves, or the snowflakes, and how every other snowflake is, geometrically similar to another pattern of a snowflake. So there is, while you think nature is, chaotic, or while you think there is, so much variation in nature, there's actually a geometric order in the way nature is. Did that make sense? That is about the golden ratio of nature. Now, Simon Sinek brings about a similar reference from the golden ratio into human behavior. We think that human behavior is very chaotic, is very all over the place. There is a lot of chaos and there's no particular order in the way human behavior thinks. But he brings in the golden ratio into human behavior and says how we are all, irrespective of which part of the world we are in, we all follow the golden circle. Now, the golden circle is the one that finds the order and the predictability in human behavior. Now, while I told you about the golden circle, I'm going to ask you some of the examples. Before I get to examples, let me just explain a little more about the what, the how, and the why. Now, a lot of us know in our companies that we run, in our businesses that we run, we as entrepreneurs, or wherever we are as professionals, we all know what we do for a living. Is that correct? Is there anybody in the room who does not know what they do? If I were to ask a couple of you to unmute and tell, or maybe put on the chat and tell me, what do you do for a living? Is that an easy question to answer? Okay, some responses. Chat is good enough if there is a difficulty in unmuting. Okay. What are you? You're a student. Okay, great. So what do you do is an easy thing to answer. Krishna Raj is still with Ankit's book. Anything else? Okay, you're a writer. So you know what you do for a living. It's easy to answer what you do. Now, if I were to ask you, a pharmaceutical scientist amongst us, very nice, a business development manager. Okay, and I'm going to give you another example. I am a PeopleSoft consultant. Okay, what am I? I am a PeopleSoft consultant. Now, how do I define my role is, what do you do as a teacher? Sindhu, what do you do as a teacher? Tulika, what do you do as a business development manager? Your roles, your job tasks, your tasks that you do is how you define the job that you do. Okay, so that is pretty simple to answer as well, correct? Do you feel that it's relatively easy for you to tell what you are, what you do, and how you do it? Very easy, correct? Most of the companies which are not, legendary companies, all follow the what and the how. Pretty much every company that has got established will always know what they do, will always know how they do a certain thing that they do in their business. All right. So these are the two very commonly thought about and not so visionary concepts of the golden circle. Now, the unique thing that Simon Sinek brings in his book is the why. Now, how many of us know why are we writers? Why are we teachers? Why are we business development managers? And why are we pharmaceutical scientists? Have you ever been able to explain what you do using why you do it? Now that brings me to the second part of this book itself and a bigger revelation for me, which is, just a minute, I'm sharing screens and it's, okay, I'm going to move the next slide. So just like I mentioned to you right now, the why, which is in the core, is your purpose. What do you believe in? What is your cause? And the outer angle, which most of us figure out, is the specific actions. Usually, we just talk about the how in terms of the actions that we do. We do not correlate it with the why we do it. So difference comes in when you are able to define the actions that you do to match your why. When you do your actions to match your why, you find your business more successful. I'm going to come with a little more examples. The last thing is what everybody does. What do you do? Which is proof. Everybody sees that you're doing a certain thing. Now I'm going to talk to you a little about the human behavior and the human mind, and two parts of how the what and the why are effective here. Quickly just showing you. Now, there are two parts of the human brain, which is the neocortex. The neocortex is the one that is mapped to the what. All right. So this is the rational one. This is the one that does not help you think. You just have to give it data. The one that analyzes everything that you talk about, what you do. Now, the limbic part of the brain is the feeling part of the brain. How does somebody make you feel when you talk about how you do certain things and why you do things in a certain way, which is talking about human behavior and how the element of trust or the element of customers believing in something is all triggered at the limbic part of the brain. Now that brings me to one other interesting aspect which was discussed here, which is in the golden circle itself. There are many things that we have to take time to understand. Now, the first question that we ask is, everybody knows what we have to do. Now, almost everybody knows how we have to go about doing things, but not too many people know why we do things the way we do things. So when that is answered, it becomes a lot easy for us to go about our business, being successful in our business. Now, one of the examples that Simon Sinek gave in his book, and that stuck with me a lot, is the example of Apple. Now, Apple was not the pioneer in its field. Okay, before even Apple came into the product, there was another company called The Creative. Now, they were selling their products, which were, which is technically a music player. They were selling their products saying that they had 5 GB of music in your pocket. Okay, they were selling a product which said 5 GB of a music player. Now, that's a lot of music, right? So the way that they were selling their product was 5 GB of 5 GB MP3 player is what they sold their product as. Now, what Apple did was, when they were introducing their products, their why was to challenge the status quo, which meant do the different, be the different, and anything out of the ordinary was what they were selling in any of the products that came out onto the market. The simple thing that they did was, when Creative went about selling their product with a tagline, a 5 GB music player, Apple went about telling 1,000 songs in your pocket. Can you see the impact that it makes? Because now it's not about a physical product. It is not about something that you are measuring in terms of the value or how the product looks. It is about how a customer feels. When you have 1,000 songs that you like in your pocket, you want to get that product. Even if that product is still a 5 MB music player, you still want to buy the product which makes you have 1,000 of your favorite songs in your pocket. Did you see what Apple did there? They did not talk about the what. They did not talk about how they were going to sell the product. They talked about why we should be buying this product. Why we buy this product is about how you feel about this product. And that was a big game changer in what was a sensational product called the iPod that was launched when Apple became a household name. Everybody wanted to have music in their pockets. Everybody wanted to hold an iPod simply because it made them feel great when they had an Apple product. Now, moving on to one of the other things that he talked about in the book as a overall was about the biology of the book. Now, I did talk to you about the neocortex. Now, the neocortex I told you was the one that corresponds to the what. All our rational thinking, the analytics, the language, and the ones that tell us about the facts and the figures. But we should be focusing on the limbic part of the brain, which will explain the why and mostly the how. Now, this is the one that is responsible for feelings like trust and loyalty, and it will help customers because this part of the brain is responsible for all our decision making and the human behavior, and basically the touch and the feeling what you get when you buy a particular product. So companies that have their whys established very well are able to sell their products better because they tap the human behavior of the customer and not the analytical part of their brain. So that's one big difference that I found in that book. It was mind-blowing for me. Now, one of the things that I also learned is that it is not enough if you just know the whys. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not belittling the how of your organization. I was talking about how you need to put the why before the hows, but the hows are just as important. Now, let me give you one other perspective. Now, one of the things that I saw in the way that when we asked about examples about Apple and Dell, I'm just going to give you one other example which was there in the book. So I remember when I told you about this first movers advantage about Creative being the pioneer in the music application field, but nobody knows Creative today. Everybody knows an Apple. And I told you why this was a game changer. Now, similarly, we can also take the example of Apple and Dell. Now, when we talk about computers, when we talk about Dell, we only think about a computer. How many of you here will buy a smartphone or a tablet from Dell? Did you know that Dell actually manufactures smartphones and tablets as well? Because we have so conditioned ourselves to only thinking about this one computer and Dell are the two words that go hand in hand. But think about it on the other side, because Dell, when they sold their products, they sold the what. What were they selling was what they sold. So you remember the product and not about the brand and how it makes you feel. Apple, on the other hand, irrespective of what Apple sells, right from the iPod, the MacBook, to your phones, to anything that Apple sells, you want to be a part of that Apple brand because they sell you the why. They make you feel great when you have a product in hand. And so that is the basic difference that he tries to bring about, how the why is very important in the way that organizations build trust for the customer. One of the other things that really stood for me, and this is a little more of the marketing angle, was not very relevant for me, but there's surely something for everyone here. Now, there was something called as a tipping curve that he explained. Now, it's a simple bell curve in which the initial part of any product will have one set of percentage of early adopters. No matter what your product is, I will definitely buy that product. People like that, the early adopters, the ones that you can really trust, whatever be the experiments that you're doing, the early adopters. Then there are an early majority, most of them. You know how when Apple is launching its latest version, you will have those people lining up in the queue in the midnight because they want to be the first ones to buy that brand, not knowing how the brand is, but they still want to buy it first. So those are the early adopters. And then we have the regular, a slightly increased majority of people, which is called as the early majority of the people, where typically within the first month of the product launch itself, they would buy it. They would not be the early risers, the first day, first show people, but they would be ones who will eventually buy the product, but in the first month of the launch itself. So the early risers. Now, companies It is enough if you just target on the left side of the bell curve, which is your early adopters and your early majority. Now, you as a company should identify what this section of people, what your product does that makes this section of people click. Because the other side of the bell curve are those late majority. I will sit back late, 10 months later, I might still buy one product of that. There might be a version 12, but 10 months later, I will be buying version 11. That's the late majority of the product. Then there are these worst kind of people that you never want to see as customers, the laggards. No matter what you do, they will be complaining about the product. You cannot keep them happy. You give them the best product and they will still be one fault that you will find out about the product. Now, those are the section of people that you don't want to cater to. So when you look at marketing a product, make sure that you concentrate on the left side of the curve and see how you can increase that percentage and cater your product to, when you take like an analysis, when you do a market analysis, make sure that you identify who your early adopters are and who your early majority is, because that is what will get your product selling. So this was one thing that I learned. It was not very relevant for my profession or what I do in Toastmasters, but I found the concept very intriguing nevertheless. Then the next thing that he talks about is, once we know the why of a leader, you can clearly see the difference between a vision statement of a company and the mission statement of a company. Now, the mission statement is the how. How are we going to go about carrying this? But the why is usually answered in the vision statement. What is it that makes your company stand apart from your rest of your competitors is what this one clearly defines. So you will be able to, once you start with a why, but know what to do in the next how, will be something that will help you define your vision and mission statement. Now, one of the very interesting exercises, and that's something that got me thinking as well, is the celery exercise. Now, in that example itself, he talked about how, now this is something that everybody can relate to. You go into a supermarket, okay? When you're going into a supermarket, so imagine, what are you going to do now? You're going into a supermarket. Now, how do you go about buying things? Is, you pick up like a Nutella. In the example, he talks about how you pick up like raw milk, you pick up Nutella, you pick up Oreo biscuits, and you pick up celery and some, a couple of other things like carrots or, something else. And then, so these are things that you will do. Now, if you, as a person who's going to the supermarket, ask, example, if you ask Sindhu might say, you know what, just pick up raw milk. If you ask Anil, who has a craving for chocolate, he might say pick up Dairy Milk or one of the chocolates from the brand. If he would ask me, I would say the thing that I needed dog food, so pick up dog food. You get what I'm saying? So different customers have different things that they want out of you. But your question of why, now if you are able to identify the why are you going into a supermarket. Now, let's say, for example, if you decide that your why of going into the supermarket is, I want to get into a healthy lifestyle. That is why I'm going into the supermarket to buy things. Now, do you think that chocolate will be one of the things that you put into your cart? Do you think that Oreo biscuits will be one of the things that you put into your cart? You will probably be looking for the celery, the raw milk, and everything else which is healthy, as told by the customers, because you know that the thing that you want is your why. Your why has been answered. And so accordingly, you're able to skim or filter product reviews, customer reviews, because you are clear about what you want through the why. So that was one very good example that he had mentioned, the celery test. Now, I highly recommend that everybody does the celery test, because you are going to get in the leadership position that I hold in the program quality for Toastmasters International. I go to a lot of people for advice and they give me a lot of great advice. But how do I decide whose advice is the best for me? Is because I ask, is it fitting my why of why I want to do it for the member? And so like that, for you in your product and your business, if you are able to take the celery test and skim of all the options that is the most fitting to your why, you will be able to work on a better product. So this was one of the things that I found that he was communicating. Now, one of the interesting aspects of in that book itself is where he talked about how communication was not about speaking. Communication is about listening. And so for you, when you go out and ask for product feedback, when you ask for feedback from your customers, what are those things that you keep in mind to enhance your product? Now, for the example in that book, he had talked about Harley Davidson. Now, everybody, you are able to relate to a symbol. Simply with the product, you're able to relate to, like a symbol. So one of the things that he talks about is how the symbol should be your why. Does the symbol actually accentuate the why of your company or your product or the business that you run? And so that is very important. Same thing with the logo. Now, the logo can only become a symbol when it inspires people to understand your why. So when you decide on a logo, you'll have to see not that it explains what your company is, but also does it tell people why you do it. Just the symbol is so very important. So in this book, I remember he was talking about the Harley Davidson symbol. It was no longer just about Harley Davidson. It was about how the people who love Harley Davidson are about the kind of lifestyle that they lead, the adventure that they take. So it represented all of that. So he talks a little about the symbol or the weightage that is given for the logo that you choose as a business. Now, one of the things that is very, very important is a lot of times you will identify the why, and it'll be great if you identify the why. But during the process of your business, the why gets a little fussy, right? It kind of becomes blurred for you because you tend to manipulate the system and forget that inspiration is the way to go forward. So what happens when your why gets a little fussy, when you lose sight of the original why? Now, for that example, he had mentioned, Simon Sinek had mentioned about Volkswagen and Walmart as two big brands that we all know. Now, Volkswagen, when, Volks and Wagen, that literally means the car of the people, correct? It means that people who can afford, the cars that people can afford is what Volkswagen literally means. So when you keep a brand like this, you're expecting Volkswagen is going to be some dollar car. Nobody bought it because it flew against their why. It did not coincide with the why of the Volkswagen's motto, which was it was no longer car of the people. It was an expensive thing which not everybody could buy. So that was one of the things that he highlighted. The same thing with even Walmart. When Walmart was founded by Sam Walton, he had believed in how it was going to help people with, it was not just about low priced commodities. Walmart was not about low priced commodities. When the founder started this company, he talked about how Walmart will be helping the communities, the poorer communities or the communities that needed help with low price commodities. That was the intention of why the founder had started Walmart. When he died, when Sam Walton died, they stopped focusing on the helping the communities around. And it was more about just low priced products. And everybody knows the number of lawsuits and the problems that Walmart has gotten into it, simply because the competition has gotten more difficult and they have forgotten to see how the communities around them can help. So this is one of the things that he talked about. Now, in this new age and in the latest world, when everything else is a competition, and this is the most the fitting finale of the book, in my opinion. So he talks about how in this new age you will find competition for every product. Every single product in the market will always have one competitor or not. He talks about how if you are against competing with everyone else, nobody will help you. But when you are competing against yourself, the whole world will want to help you. Now, that for me was very, very, it was a big revelation, because when the competition was against somebody else, I found that there was nobody to support me. Nobody was this thing, because it was too much of a competition. But the moment I knew I just had to become one better version of my own self, how do I improve my quality, my product, and my this thing without trying to beat somebody else in the product, automatically this product survives. So that's the beauty of this thing, where he concludes by saying you are your best competition. So you as customers, or whatever it is that you're trying to run, not try to compete with another product, but just focus on how you can make your product better. It talks about a long-standing relationship that you will have with customers, because you are not in the competition to outbeat another customer, but only enhance your own product and increase your customer base. So that was one of the things that I got from the book. Just in summary, this was a very good read. I started reading this book called The Leaders Eat First, because that was a recommendation from me. And then I went back and I saw a lot of references where the book, this Leaders Eat First book, talked about Simon Sinek's TED Talk. And so I bought the book after 11 years of the book actually being launched. And for me, this gives me a lot of perspective right now. And the golden circle is now bread and butter for me. Everything that I do right now. Now, when somebody asks me what I do in Oracle, I no longer tell them that I'm a PeopleSoft consultant. I tell them that I am the person who helps support top account customers when things go crashing in their production. I'm the person that they look up to. I'm the person that they need. I want to be the person to support them when things go crashing in their production system. And that changes the way that people look at me when I talk about the job, the everyday job that I do. How I do it is the exact same way, but I'm no longer their PeopleSoft consultant. I'm the person that they can trust when things go wrong in their organization. So that is a big game changer for me. And same thing in the Toastmasters organization as well. When I tell them the why, people come forward. We are the Toastmasters International is a volunteering organization. I don't pay anybody anything. How can I inspire people and not manipulate them to get the task done? Because the task has to get done in the end. So this has been the golden circle for me from this, start with a why, has been an amazing, life-altering and a game changer in the way that I've been looking at things. And I sincerely hope that all of you, if you get an opportunity for this light read of about 230 books, 30 pages, you will definitely find that there will be one thing that you will connect to really very well. If you don't have the time, then all I can recommend to you is to simply listen to the TEDx talk, in which the exact same book's concepts is beautifully explained in just 17 minutes. So the choice is yours. If you are a book lover and if you have the time and the inclination to, it will take you about, if you're a fairly good fast reader, it will take you about 3 hours or 4 hours if you sit at a stretch. Otherwise, there is a 17-minute TEDx video which will help you do the same. But nevertheless, remember to ask the why before you do the what and the how. I wish everyone here all the very best. And thank you, Anil, for this opportunity to be with all of you at the book club.
Thank you so
Vanita.
much, Vanita, for the wonderful, the session that you have presented to us. See, I remember a story of a JFK. Everyone must be knowing John F. Kennedy, the 35th president of United States of America. Once he visited NASA, he saw a janitor was mopping up the floor. He asked the janitor that, gentlemen, what are you doing? He said, I'm helping them to send a man to moon. So for him, it was not just a janitor job. For him, it was a calling. Similarly, Vanida, if someone asks you tomorrow what you did in the Bookery show yesterday, don't tell them that one you presented a book over there. Tell them that one you touched the heart of 35 people live, and you're going to touch the heart of thousands of people when it is on YouTube. You exactly did it. That's what we could see a coach in you. We could see a trainer in you. We could see something in you, Vanida. That was really wonderful. Yes, we have many people over here who like to share their view on how the presentation went. Yeah, definitely the why. It's the most important question that we need to ask ourselves. People don't buy what you do. People buy why you do it. I would like to bring on board Mr. Rohan Ravindra. Rohan, are you there, Rohan? Rohan, may I request you to be here on a mic? Or else may I request Sindhu ma'am or Lakshmi or Thomas?
Niyas, they were not able to unmute. Rohan and
Is it
Zenha.
Sanish? Could you please help them technically that they can unmute themselves and can start talking? Rohan, I sent the prompt to you. Good
Yes.
evening, Rohan. You look
Hello,
very
everyone.
formal. You are truly a Toastmaster.
Yes. Well, you should look the part as well, right?
Yes, Rohan, please go ahead. How has been your experience with the Bookery? How has been your experience with Vanita? And start with why.
Well, I think Vanita is always in her usual best, and I think that today was no exception. She always has a method to get in her own personal experience and sort of not just speak, not just be another person who paraphrases the thing in the entire book, but also talks about how it applies. And I think speaking about how she has, how this book has applied to her
Rohan, would
life,
you
gave us
mind
more
speaking a
perspective.
little bit louder? Or else
Sure.
keep
Okay.
your
Is this
mouthpiece
better?
very close to your mouth.
Is this better?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So as usual, she's been a usual best, and I think the perspective of her talking about how this book has also affected her life has, gave us more perspective on this as well. Because it's not just another person paraphrasing the same thing in the book, but something that's actually happened in her life and something that it gives that element of genuinity. And I think that's something she always does. That she's a really genuine person. I think she gets that through every word she speaks and every action she does. Especially this is the first time that I've seen this sort of meeting happening where people come together and listen to reviews of a book. And I think that is something that's dying today, right? I mean, in the world which is extremely fast going, where you have to just look at a video of 7 minutes, and then people don't have even time to look at a 7-minute video. We're all so quick, and to preserve this art of reading a book and to because there is something special. It's always said that passing on what we've learned is supposed to be the true nature of life, right? Even the first cell, when it replicated, gave away all the things that it learned to the new cell. Similarly, books are that way, where we have a conversation with the people who've already deceased about centuries ago, and preserving this sort of idea and this sort of this idea of learning and to listen to other people and to learn from the great minds is, I think, something really nice. And kudos to this initiative for getting people all around who are interested to read. And I'm really fascinated. I really will come back soon again for another meeting. Thank you so much for having me. And back to you, Toastmaster Niyaz.
Not Toastmaster Nias. This is MC Nias. You are very much attuned with that. Thank you so much, Rohan, for the wonderful explanation that we had from your side. So we would like to have more people from your side. Please raise your hand so we can unmute you. Or else, Sanish, could you please help everyone to put it in a mode that they can unmute themselves and start talking. We have a Naushad Amanat from Bahrain, one of a veteran, experienced Toastmaster, and we have Takyuddin, and we have Ruth from Dubai over here. We have N. Suresh. We have many dignitaries over here, including we have Zohra Sundaram. If you like to speak, please raise your hand, because since there are many, I don't want to pick on anyone.
Zora ma'am.
Hi, Zora ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name
How are
is
you
not
today, ma'am?
Zohra, it's Rohini. That's just the name that's on my Gmail. I just wanted to say, Vanita, I used to be a copywriter, so I have about 50 years or so of advertising experience. So the reason the products went from the how and the what to the why was because, as you mentioned, competition increased. There used to be an old saying, you build it and they'll come. That no longer applies, because there are nuances of differences between products and services that are being offered. And so you need to have the why. If you look at a lot of old companies, these great vision, mission things are relatively recent. They knew what they were producing. They were doing it for a particular market. They were doing it to provide a product or a service to a group. Then along comes, 25 other people. Now you need a differentiator. And that's when the why became important. But thank you very much. It's a very detailed and superb review. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was very detailed and it was very laborious too. Yes, we have a one Naina over here, another vibrant Toastmasters
I think
from
Zenha would speak
fraternity.
now.
Zenha,
Zenha,
yeah, Zenha.
Is Zenha there?
Yeah.
yeah,
Hi.
Yes,
she's been
Hi.
Zenha.
coming along. After
Hi,
Hi,
that, we will
Zenha.
call
Vinita.
up Naina.
Hi, Vinita. I really loved your speech. And hearing about that, it made me think about a scenario that someone made me to think. The scenario was like this. You are a father, you are a parent of a daughter, and your daughter wants to study like medicals, like she wants to be um, okay, I think I forgot. She wants to be a doctor, and then some agent comes to you and says there is a college, there's a private college, and it costs 1.5 CR. And then he asked me, what would you think? What questions would you think? And then he told me, first start with the why, then what, then how. Why should I do this? Then what is the alternatives if I can do that? What is the other things and how should I do it? Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Zenha. Thank you so much. See, I need someone who can comment on the wonderful presentation that we had from Ankit. Someone who is good at the stock market side, someone who is good at, who has a flair for the money market, who has a flair for the numbers. I guess I picked a few from here. One was Santosh, and another one was, I don't see that gentleman over here now. Is there anyone who can comment something on that? The first book, we had a wonderful presentation from Ankit. Anyone who has a flyer on that? I guess most.
The thing with Ankit's review is nobody would dare to review his review.
But I guess Veera is there. Veera,
Yeah,
there was a
yeah.
question
I
from
was
you.
just
I
reading
knew it.
Veera
Is there any? Veera, are you there?
No, I guess Veera left after Ankit's thing. Ankit's.
No, she's there.
Yes.
Still
All
there.
right. I'm sending a prompt. I guess people are having a problem to unmute themselves today.
Yeah,
We'll have
yeah.
to
Can you
fix
unmute
this.
Veera?
Yeah, I sent a prompt to Veera.
Veera
Yes,
is
Veera.
Yes.
You are on a
Yeah.
video. You are on a mic
Yes.
now.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm an ex-banker, so and also a bit of an investor in the market. So I would love to, and old enough to remember the Harshit Mehta scam. So yes, I really found the book very interesting. Though I'm a little now apprehensive whether I'll be able to follow everything because the bond market is something that is completely new and different for me. But I'm really very much tempted to read the book now. And it was a very detailed and a very nice review. It was an actual review of what to expect from the book, and both the Harshad Mehta and the other scams and all. So yes, uh, this review has really helped me to make up my mind to read this book. So thank you so much. And this is my first time at this book review, and I hope it's not. I'm going to continue to come for these reviews.
Yes, Veera, we would like
Thank
to
you
see
so
you
much.
every week over here. We have every Saturday this session between 5 and 6:30 Dubai time. We look forward to seeing you on every Saturdays here.
Thank you so much.
Uh,
I've already joined the WhatsApp group.
Wonderful. That was a great move from your side, I must say. Yes, we
Yes,
have a
yes.
Takyuddin. Takyuddin, what do you think of the book of Ankit? I guess the people cannot comment it very easily, Ankit, because they need a little bit of a brain to do that one, I guess. Okay, Takyuddin, please.
Yeah, definitely. This book is a bit tricky, and someone
Taki, would
who
you
is in
please
the
speak a little bit louder?
yeah, okay. One who can review the book is exactly Ankit because he is a banker and well experienced in that field. So This is for a particular section we can review such an item. So my understanding from this is most of the time it is repeating many scams day by day it's happening, still people will be trapped. So might be some psychological thing is there between this one, because of, as he mentioned, because of easy money and going soon to somewhere. This is the thing happening with those scams. There's almost same thing happening in UA now. Now you know that NMC Dr. B.R. Shetty also in the trap. He's saying he's trapped, but almost the same scenario happened with that also. So he was a big tycoon and registered in the listed
Ankit,
in.
would you please comment on it,
Yes, I agree with you, Takyudin. Again, so Veera and Taki, thanks for the kind words. It's a specialized book. I agree. It's not a off the shelf book you would normally pick up and just go through it while you're probably just lying around or just having some fad for it. So it needs a bit of inclination towards the stock market or the bond market or finance in general. So that's one of the premise of the book. Second, again, Veera being an ex-banker, I don't think it will be too much of a difficult one for you. And Takyudin and my other friends and colleagues over here, somebody who has interest in the stock market, I believe everybody has. Somewhere or the other, either you're parking your money directly or you're using mutual funds or the other routes to put your money there. So I urge that you should have your basics in place. You should read a little bit on the markets so that you are abreast of what's happening there, and it will help you. I mean, you will not be caught unaware of where my money went and why it went that way. So that's the premise where probably it will help you to pick up the book and read it. Just couple of things that I didn't want to probably cover in the earlier section was uh, it's not just about Suchita or Harshad Mehta or anything. It's financial markets in general. I mean, we work 24/7 for our earning. I mean, probably after every why to make where you want to go and to be what you are, the money is always there. I mean, in whatever form, shape, and type, money is always there, and that money, if invested wisely, makes sense for an individual and for his family. So that's why being abreast with the markets would help. So little bit of following would really help you, and books like these, probably once in a quarter, once in 6 months, you can pick it up. There are a lot of things that are happening around the world. There are better versions of it. This is the worst side of it. I mean, say it's not about the scan, but you can pick up why Amazon is what Amazon is. There is a financial muscle behind him. What Jeff Bezos, the company did not exist when Harshad Mehta was doing turnover of probably 60,000 crores a year, but today Jeff Bezos is there. So that's the kind of comparison probably you can draw and attract yourself to reading this book. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ankit, for that. I would like to call upon Major Narayanan Sab. Major, are you there? Good evening, Major. I sent you a prompt for unmuting. Yes, Major.
Am I audible?
Very much. I would say too much.
Oh, good. I joined quite late, but I did not miss entirely what Ankit spoke. Scam. He gave a lot of delineation about Harshad Mehta's machinations and the way he was able to maneuver his way through the Indian stock market. It is said about this famous scam that birthdays are a great scam because birthdays were invented by Hallmark to sell their cards.
Very nice take, Major.
Yeah. And if you see a fraud and you don't report a fraud, then you are a fraud. That's what people say. So to that extent, Ankit had proved true to his salt. Like he's the chief manager in ICICI. And naturally, he's having a lot of interest in the way the money market, the financials work in the Indian economy, and how one single person was able to manipulate to his advantage.
Thank you.
Correct. Hyped valuation and hyped valuation, I can say. And
So
money is
he's
the same.
probably
Money is the same, whether it is whether you earn or scam. is the same. And Ankit, slightly, of course, I'm not that much clued up on money matters, but whatever he said was relevant. Lot of technical jargon. It would have definitely interested the person who's been interested in financials. As rightly said by Ankit himself, books of these should come once in a quarter, and a lot of people are there. I just joined late. There is a disadvantage in speaking first in the book review, I should say, because the people who had heard the first person, usually they leave. And the advantage of the second speaker, Vanitha Rangarajan, like a duck takes to water, she has taken to speaking. Maybe her working in because the way she's been serving in the TMI, that must be one of the reasons, or the Oracle. They say, today a reader, tomorrow a leader. And the particular question of start with why gives a lot of points for introspection. It is said that there are more treasures in books than all the pirates' treasures, or rather all the pirates' loot in the treasure islands. Because a lot of that is learnings and wisdom are pregnant in books. And it is said that a man who has never read a book had lived only once. And a man who has read had lived 1,000 times. And the way Vanitha Rangarajan had brought to the fore the learnings contained in the book was simply awesome. She did not even review. If I had been the author of the book, I would have sued her, because she brought out the entire things in the book and much more also. She also added a lot of value. If only Simon doesn't come to know of Vanitha, you'll be safe. And it is said that the books are the plane, the train, and the road. They're also the destination of the journey. And you did a great, remarkable job in not only reviewing the book, but it also taking the reader far beyond the realms of the books. I take great pleasure in thanking Ankit, a long lost friend, and Vanitha Rangarajan for having brought two wonderful books to the forum. And it's a pity that the one who heard the first speaker, they left. A lot of people are still staying back. And I'm so happy that I've been given an opportunity to speak also. Thank you, Vanitha and Ankit, and over to Sanish Babu. Thank you.
You're welcome, Major, all the time. I mean, it was a wonderful evaluation from Major Narayan. Yes, with this, I would like to move on to a word of thanks. I mean, the word of thanks, we cannot just say, by thanking Vanitha and Ankit, because the kind of session that you offered to us was wonderful. So while I'm looking on the screen, someone I can find, who is really apt for this word of thanks, who's been an energy or a power of e-Bookery show Malayalam, and she is being single-handedly leading the Malayalam Bookery show, and she is the lady superstar of Malayalam e-Bookery show Malayalam. Is none other than Gisela Mohiddin.
Yes, you flatter so much. Really. Wow, what an evening. From the fragrance of the flower, the importance of 2 drops of oil, to one of the most thrilling nonfiction business book written 28 years back, to another one which started a movement on inspiring people to ask a simple question, why? One minute, baby, I'll come back to you. Sorry. Ankit Murakia, so well reviewed, calm, clear, and expressive. The way you gave a glimpse of the background, gist of the book, and of course, your own input being a banker of what really happens in actual functioning of a market, whether it is a stock, gold, or bond market. Thank you, Ankit. If Suchita used the word scam 360 times in a 308-page book, you have used it about 12 times in about a 20-minute review. So yes, it definitely rings a bell. And we'll surely try and get a copy of the book to understand more. Thank you, Ankit. Vanitha Rangarajan. We understand a hectic day you must have had, dear. In spite of it, you came forward and introduced this wonderful book to us. The way you started off itself got the audience grip with the interaction and that helped us give a glimpse into the book. You constantly invented reactions from us, be it through chat or your presentation. You've given us a fresh perspective on how this book tells us about how we do different things and how a lot of ideas can be triggered by a simple question: why? Before what and how. You gave us a better sense of why the book is so good. And I agree with Veera, you really went beyond reviewing the book. Thank you, Vanita. All in all, two great books of great value brought to us by two great presenters. Thank you, guys. Every session has a lot of hands and brains working behind each and every episode of our eBookery show, from finding prospective speakers to the poster creations to the marketing and social media promoters. So thank you all to those volunteers who work endlessly. Naming some of them: Niaz, our MC, Sanish and Tulika, our media influencers, Vinisha, our poster girl. Thank you, team, for making one more episode another astounding success. I would also like to express my gratitude to the two handsome men, Anil Thomas and Faisal Ibrahim, the founders of eBookery, without whose vision we wouldn't be sitting here today. Finally, how can I leave without thanking you all, our audience? We had about 45 plus of y'all who attended this evening. Thank you for taking your time out and being a part of our show and enhancing the reading within all of us and proving to us that we're moving towards the right direction with this concept. Thank you to the remaining 18 of you all. Thank you all once again. Over to you, Nias.
Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. You stole the thunder of the show. It was truly amazing. You are already booked for eBookery English by eBookery founder Anil Thomas. Yes, that was a wonderful professional closing from Gisela. Yes, thank you so much, Vanida and Ankit. I would like to hear from both of you how it's been. How has been your experience? Let me start with Ankit Murakia. Ankit, you've been a regular participant, a very active participant from June 12th, June 13th, our first chapter until today. Today, your role is different, but as usual, you are truly amazing. Tell us more about your experience as a presenter.
Thank you again for the kind words and for the opportunity to present. I'll again probably repeat what Ghazala said, that yes, it takes a lot of efforts from a lot of people behind the scene to put this together and serve it to the entire community of people who still want to read books and who want to connect back to the paper. So a good effort, and thank you so much for doing this every weekend. Today is the 21st session, so 21 generally means that if you can do it for 21 days or 21 times, it becomes a habit. So uh, Anil ji and Faisal, now you started with the boat, now you have a full carrier to carry on. We've all jumped on the boat with you, so I hope you ensure and you keep going this forever, till the time there are books around and till the time there are book lovers around. I believe our association should go on. So thank you for the opportunity. And Vanita, I guess you just put the entire book to us. You served the entire book to us in one go. So thank you so much for that. And yes, the why is very important. And behind every why is the very reason why you're doing something. So you will probably understand what you're doing only if you know why you're doing it. And if you can have that answer very clear, I guess each moment of the day would really mean something to you, be it whatever you do. Even if you're a housewife doing something at your own place or a professional, if the why is clear, I guess the happiness is there, because the end result is also very clear. That way. So I believe the why and the end result, if they can be connected, you're home. So thank you for the wonderful review. Thank you, Ghazala and Mr. Narayanan and Takyuddin and all other people who spoke about the book and the review. It's a little technical. Probably I'll come back with another book with Anil's permission, which would be a non-technical one. This time more connecting to the larger audience. So let's see when my turn comes next. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you so much. Most of us were really bad in the mathematics while we were in school and colleges. That's the reason why we did not have much to add on to that point. Yes, Vanida, it was really a fantastic. I mean, when you were overshooting the time, we nobody wanted to stop you because you were on a great flow, and left and right center, you were giving a bits of information, practical stuffs which we could relate to our daily life and our professional life. Yes, how has been your experience on eBookery show?
All right. So when, Anil had already introduced, I'm quite active on social media. So the first time that Anil got in touch with me, I was a little skeptical because this is really my very, very first book review. I've never done a book review in my 38 years of existence. And so I want to thank Anil for reaching out for the opportunity. I talk a lot. I've talked in a lot of forums, but I've never really done a book review. So this was big learning for me. It's one thing to read a book, but it's a whole different thing to talk about the book and how it had an impact. So it was a great learning in terms of preparation for me and things that I had to remember, and then how it impacted me and things like that. So it was great, and I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. But this is not going to stop here, because today I was a presenter, but I want to keep coming back. While a lot of things, because again, it was too technical for me, Ankit was a fantastic book reviewer. But because of the topic that it was, I'm going to come back when Ankit is going to give us a non-technical book review. I definitely want to be back here for further book reviews. It has gotten me thinking. I used to struggle to finish now with 2 children and a dog at home. It's a big deal to finish a book in 2 months, but now I'm looking forward. If I'm able to read a book in a month, that means I might get my turn to come here and do a review. So it's actually making me a little more voracious in terms of reading, going back to the book reading habit. Um, Thank you again. And I'm really sorry about the timing thing. I should have self-timed myself, but I will work on this aspect even otherwise, and make sure that the book review is done within the stipulated time. Thank you for the opportunity again. It was amazing being here. I will come back here as part of the audience Saturday evening with another presenter when you're coming here. Whoever is the next presenter, I will make sure that I'm here, because the learnings are amazing. If I don't have the time, the 4 hours to read the book, all I need to do is to listen to the book review. It kind of gives me the feeling of reading a book. So that is a big impact for me. And so thank you for introducing me to the book club. And back to you, Nia.
Thank you, everyone. Before you are going, I just would like to introduce the next week book for you. Yes, uh, I guess I'm a bit late on it. Yes, next week we are going to have 2 books. Chapter 22nd, it's on a 7th November, Saturday between 5 p.m. And 6:30 p.m. Dubai time. We're going to have a speaker Panchami Anand with a book Time Pass, and we're going to have a teacher, second speaker, A Thousand Splendid Suns from Sindhu Balagopal. So we are truly eagerly waiting for that session. So I would like to have every one of you to be in that session. And as Vanida said, whoever is here, make sure you are there on every Saturday. And this is a platform, this is a free platform. Anybody can come and take the leadership role over here. Leadership is not a position, it's not a title, it is a choice, or it is a mental state. Whoever wants to come and to take a role over here as an MC, as to speak, introduce a speaker, to do a word of thanks, to share insight sharing, please feel free to come up over here. As I said in the beginning of my emceeing, that this is the light that we would like to pass on to the next generation. We have a Zenha one side, we have Anil Thomas the other side. So we are all carriers, we are all bearers, the light bearers, to take from one place to another. So be part of this and be here on every Saturdays. Rohan, happy to see you over here. We could see you for the first time. We would like to see you. We would like to see you on every Saturday. Krishnadajaya sir, he's a regular participant. Please be here. Jagan, you were completely brand new for us. Please be here every Saturday. And B. Mahesh, Veera, Katpitia, and Suresh sir is a regular participant, a very active participant, and one of the best book presenter in a Malayalam he did. And yes, he's gonna do one book presentation even in English as well. Major Narayanan sir, yes, he was the third speaker today. In fact, that kind of charm he had when he starts speaking. Definitely, he's a well-read person, and he's a person who has has a lot of experience, the person who can relate many of the so-called philosophical thoughts into the daily life and to speak to us on the practical side. And Ankit, you've been wonderful, Ankit. Thank you so much. Once again, you really amazed us. Sanish, who's a very selfless leader, who's been with Bookery for the past 20 sessions. Though myself, I missed many sessions in between, but Sanish has been so consistent. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for being with us here, and I would like to see you every Saturdays from next week. And also, if you have a good speakers and if you know someone who can present a book over here, do recommend to us. And similarly, if you want to be a volunteer over here, we are all from a different walks of life. Anil, he is from a technical background. He works for an Emirates. And Ghazala, she was a banker. Yes, even now also, I guess she is a banker and she does her own business. She's an entrepreneur as well. Sanish, he works for an FMCG company. Takyuddin, he is a quality person. And Suresh, he is into his business. Myself, I'm into the logistics industry. So we are all from the different walks of life. This clan, what assembles us over here is that our passion for reading, our passion for books, our passion for presentation. So be here, guys, every week. We would like to see you and be part of it. Nobody is here to judge you. Everyone is here to be a leader. So be here, take the roles. Do not wait someone to give you the role. Take the role. Tell us that, I want to be the MC for the next week. Tell us that I want to be that inside sharing person for the next week. Tell us that, I want to do the vote of thanks for the next week. And I want to introduce a speaker to you. Be a leader, please. Thank you so much once again, and see you all on next Saturday. Till then, bye. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Vanita, for coming. It was
Bye,
amazing.
Ankit.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Suresh
Bye-bye.
sir, we need to do one presentation here in English, right? And also,
I
there was
think
a slight
Rohan can be
confusion
next.
yesterday on our plan for storytelling competition. Gisela, I mean, we are clear on it, right? And we need to make a group for that, and we need to start action. I mean,
you can go
activities
off
on that.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
All right.
YouTube. Can you switch off the YouTube?
I mean, whoever started this, Sanish?
No, it is not
It
me.
was Faisal, right?
Yeah, it was Faisal.
Who is the host now?
I am the host, but where do
You
I?
should be able to stop it.
If I stop recording, will it stop?
Yeah, still the